Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know there was a light show that went with that one as well. Did you see Anubis all plugged into computers? It's incredible. I've got to say, I don't often do this because you don't want to give them too much positive reinforcement because it just encourages them, but a bit of a round of applause for the percussion section there. There was a bass drum drop there that was pretty incredible, even backstage. So I think we're doing a raffle draw now, is that correct? While we find the raffle bucket, here's some more history about the band. Actually, no, I do have some more history about the band. I left well, okay, I'm going to be a little bit personally self-indulgent, but also, this is probably the most interesting piece of history. 1927, there was what was called an Empire Day celebration at New Farm Park, and this little band here played in that, because of course they did. And who were the special guests that day were the then Duke and Duchess of York, who later became King George and the Queen Mum, the mother and father of the late Queen Elizabeth. They were joined, oh good, here we go, we're getting some stuff, it's fine. And yeah, so the interesting thing about that particular day was they were joined at the Empire Day celebrations with the undefeated at the time, and actually was undefeated for about 10 years, bass baritone champion singer of Australia, Mr. Stanley Tamblyn, who I mentioned before. Now, I found that piece of information about 6 or 7 years ago, and just sort of discounted it, because I went, oh, well, it was only the once, big deal, you know. He was a fascinating guy, but, you know, that's not just a big deal, it's only one-off. And then when I was doing all the research and I came up with all those news articles from before, I went, this guy's name keeps showing up over and over again. 1914, 1916, 1927, 1932, basically every second week, Stanley Tamblyn was singing with this band. And you're like, okay, big deal, he was the bass baritone champion of Australia. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Well, the reason it's interesting to me is because until about 4 days ago, I didn't know that he sung with the band that much. And Stanley Tamblyn is my great-grandfather. And I didn't know that. Well, I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know that he'd sung with this band so much. And it's almost like he went out of his way to sing with this band. There were a lot of bands around, but he doesn't show up with the other ones. He keeps coming back to this band over and over again. And it kind of has thrown me for a bit of a loop, because I wasn't expecting to find that about 3 days ago, and I don't know what to do with that information, because I don't know. I never got to meet him. Obviously, he passed away long before I came around, but apparently he was really lovely, really quietly spoken, very different to me, and I'd love to think that 100 years later, when he was standing there in 1927 or 1914, that he thought, maybe, just maybe, one of my grandkids will be standing in front of this band in 100 years' time. Maybe you thought that, I don't know. I hope I'm making him proud, at least, because it's really weird for me to stand in front of the same band and say what I assume he said at some point, which was, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Brisbane Municipal Concert Band, because they can't do it for themselves. So I'm going to stop talking about that, because I'll probably start crying a little bit, but we're going to have a raffle draw. So, alrighty, last one. This is it. It's been an amazing night. It's an incredibly historic night. It's 120 years. I still can't wrap my head around that. So to take us out, a big, flourishing, really exciting number. It is there we go, In the Centre Ring by Robert Sheldon, and it is what the composer calls a musical snapshot of a circus performance. So think of jugglers, trapeze artists, acrobats, most of all conveying the fun the performers are having, and the fun that the audience is having watching it. And I hope you guys have had fun listening and watching the music tonight. Thank you so much for being here. This one is In the Centre Ring.